creature on Tress.
Driving a deserted highway on a long route is always a little spooky, but it's not so bad when you remember the only monsters out there are deer. One time, after a 3-week shift, I was driving along the highway. I drove alone, accompanied only by the sound of the truck as it bounced on each bump in the road. I didn't bother turning on the radio because I didn't want it to distract me from the road. Given that I was already tired, that'd just aggravate the situation. So what was left for me to do? Just drive. Nothing more. It was still noisy from the new tyres, which I'd replaced pretty recently. The old tyres were swollen and had to be thrown away for disposal. Besides, I got $5 per tyre, which ain't nothing, and it's virtually free money, right? The dashboard clock read 2:22 a.m, and I was getting more sleepy by the minute. Suddenly I heard this burping roar as something jumped out of the bushes and darted across the road. Any closer and I would have hit it. I braked sharply and slid to a stop at the side of the road. I thought it was a deer or another animal, but the face that looked at me while jumping was burned into my mind. I went and looked around, wondering if I'd hit the thing without realizing it. There was nothing around the truck. I turned around, puzzled, and I saw it. It stared at me with a fierce expression like it was ready to pounce. I ran back to the truck, slamming and locking the door, and suddenly I heard that same burping roar from inside the truck. It was coming from the back seat.
Interview with survivor, Calvin Mark. Burpers. Calvin Mark was found next to his destroyed truck. The vehicle had been ripped apart and completely destroyed. Calvin was found not too far out in the grass. Large black sucker wounds similar to leech bites were covering most of his body. He had lost blood, lymph, and spinal fluid. It's a common aftermath after being cornered and attacked by burpers. These hunters, large 3-legged creatures, always work in a group, often 2, but sometimes 3. They like to distract prey with their roars that resemble burping or the popping of water balloons. Their whole body appears quite slug-like, but they are very mobile and very strong, able to rip the doors off trucks, knock down trees, and break through concrete walls. These slug-like bodies are very flexible as well. They can rotate their limbs and maneuver in almost any position. They can flip and crawl at the same speed as if they were moving normally. They also secrete a slime that allows them to stick to walls and ceilings. It lets them climb and move up walls and trees and cling to moving vehicles. Once they've caught their prey, human or animal, they'll proceed to drain as much fluid from their victims as possible, using their tentacled mouths which resemble a leech's mouth. They are also blind. Without eyes, they use their burping vocalizations as a form of echolocation to hunt. They also taste the air in search of the pheromone signals that most animals release. Calvin was lucky that the creatures had recently fed upon some deer, otherwise they would have drained him to the point of death. His survival was still touch and go, as the bite of a burper contains anticoagulants. Many of the bites would not stop bleeding until the substance was neutralized. Observation has revealed that though they are ambush predators, they are fully capable of hunting and attacking other predators and handling them with ease. There is video footage of burpers attacking a pack of wolves while outnumbered 9-2 and coming out virtually unscathed. The wolves' teeth were unable to penetrate their slimy skin. The 2 burpers wiped out the entire pack and glutted themselves upon their fluids. In a similar case, a lone burper took on a fully grown bear. This fight was closer to an even match, but the burper's ability to maneuver in 3 dimensions allowed it to win out, wrapping itself around the bear's throat and, in an impressive display of strength, snapping its neck. Afterwards it fed upon the bear, draining it of all fluids, and took over its cave as its new home. Trail cameras, originally placed to observe the bear, captured all of this. Burpers reproduce asexually through a form of fragmentation, specifically paratomy, albeit a very violent form. The creature will first swell up to twice its normal size, bubbling as it swells and emitting loud burps. Then its 3 limbs increase to 6, with each group of 3 latching on to opposite walls of the cave. The burper proceeds to tear itself slowly and messily in half, becoming two separate creatures. Both burpers then enter a healing hibernation to recover from the trauma of reproduction. Hunting immediately follows to replace the resources lost in the process. This process explains why the burpers are so coordinated when attacking. They were once the same creature, now split into two. This indicates that at least one of them does the same again when packs of 3 or more are encountered. Knowledge of their means of reproduction has made burpers a high priority target for elimination. Keeping their population in check is crucial since they're capable of self-replication. It is fortunate for us that burpers aren't immune to bullets or heavy arms. It's just a matter of setting up the squads and countering their hunting tactics to pin them down. As a final but very important note, killing a burper causes it to explode messily, like a popped water balloon. In addition to being highly acidic, the gooey mess also attracts other burpers within a 10-mile radius. Truly an abomination of nature.